Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the source material you need, whether it's research, notes, or instructional content, and distill it down into simple, clear, actionable knowledge. We are here to give you the ultimate shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we are undertaking a really critical mission, mastering professional English communication. We're taking the fast track to sounding not just correct, but, truly confident and reliably polite in any English workplace setting. This deep dive is really designed specifically to help you start feeling nervous about speaking in meetings or drafting those crucial quick chat messages. We are diving deep into lessons today from the instructional channel English Uncut. Our focus is on the specific phrases and sentence structures native speakers use to communicate effectively at work. We want to move past all that complex grammar and focus instead on, usable everyday professionalism. And since we are diving into these incredibly valuable lessons from English Uncut, I have a small favor to ask of you, the listener. Are you ready to stop feeling nervous in English meetings and start sounding professional? If so, make sure to like and subscribe to the English Uncut channel right now and share this deep dive with family and friends so they don't miss these valuable lessons. Joining me to unpack all this fantastic source material is our expert language instructor. You understand exactly how to synthesize complex social dynamics into clear, real-life, applicable lessons. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a true pleasure to be here to guide this deep dive. My mission today is exactly what you just described, to help you, the listener, really analyze the specific words and sentences from these lessons. The goal is so you can immediately build confidence and start using this English successfully in real life. We want to make the language highly accessible and just incredibly effective.
That sounds like a perfect mission. So our journey today focuses on 3 core workplace scenarios because the language, it really differs, doesn't it?
It really does.
We'll cover formal meetings, then the rapid-fire, quick daily stand-ups, and of course those central casual chat or email updates. And the ultimate goal, as your lessons highlight, is to make sure everything you say and write sticks to that golden rule: simple, clear, and polite English.
That is the foundation. Simple, clear, and polite. If we just stick to those 3 pillars, the confidence, it will naturally follow. Let's make every single sentence we analyze really count for the listener.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this first scenario then, the formal weekly meeting. I think these meetings can be just incredibly intimidating, especially when you're trying to figure out the flow, the structure, and when exactly you were supposed to speak.
Absolutely. The anxiety is real.
The source material starts with a great setup dialogue that immediately addresses how to establish order. The question asked is, so what's first on the agenda? And the response, it structures the whole discussion. Let's see, today we'll review project updates, talk about deadlines, and share next steps.
What's so fascinating here is how quickly that structure is established, using very, very specific, and I'd say formal, language. We need to focus on those powerful structuring nouns and verbs. When you hear or use the word agenda, it immediately signals a plan.
A plan, right.
It's not just an informal chat. It's an organized, maybe even a documented process.
That's a great point. I think for learners, it is so crucial to know that agenda means the list of topics we have to cover, and in order, it sets the scope.
Precisely. And then those verbs are the signposts for the discussion. They define the type of communication that's required for each part of the meeting. So we have review, which in a professional context, it means a lot more than just look at.
Okay.
It signals a formal process of inspection, often required for documentation or compliance. It suggests serious attention.
I see. So saying, we will review the report, it sounds much more serious and professional than, say, we will look at the report. It kind of elevates the task.
Exactly. Then you have talk about,
yeah,
which means discuss. That's the segment where you exchange opinions and ideas. And crucially, we have share next steps. This is classic business speak. It means telling everyone the specific tasks or actions that need to happen after the meeting ends.
Ah, the action part.
Right. It's the point of transition from discussion to, execution.
So knowing these verbs review, talk about, share next steps, it allows you, the listener, to track the meeting's progress, even if the discussion moves quickly. It gives you the framework to understand what kind of information is coming next. It provides that essential scaffolding.
And that scaffolding is key to reducing anxiety. If you know the structure, you feel much more in control.
The source also gives us these crystal clear phrases for actually starting the update. The manager says, let's begin our weekly update meeting. I'll go first, then Name will share his update.
Let's begin is your formal cue to start. It's simple, direct, and universally understood. And that phrase, share his update, is highly professional. It's a key phrase for transitioning power and attention from one speaker to the next. You are not just randomly talking, you are sharing valuable, necessary information that the team depends on.
That's an important distinction to make. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, nerves. The source material immediately gives this fantastic, reassuring advice to someone who is feeling nervous. They say, don't worry, just speak slowly and clearly. Remember, meetings are just conversations.
This is truly the most important piece of advice for any English learner in a professional setting. I can't stress this enough. The number one priority is clarity, far, far above speed or complex vocabulary.
Okay.
If you speak slowly, you achieve two things. First, you give yourself time to think about the correct, simple vocabulary you already know. And second, you give your listeners time to process what you are saying, especially if they are also non-native speakers.
I think this is where the cultural component comes in. In many workplaces, if you speak too fast and you make a mistake, people might just politely ignore the mistake. But if you speak slowly and clearly, even if you pause a lot, you are respecting their time and intelligence by making sure the information transfers successfully.
Absolutely. It reinforces the idea that these meetings, beneath all the formality, should still feel like organized conversations. If you rush, you risk both mispronunciation and grammatical errors, which leads to confusion. If you slow down, you maximize clarity. It significantly reduces the pressure.
Okay, so now that we've established the proper pace and professional tone, this is where it gets really interesting for practical application. Once we start speaking, we need strong verbs to describe our work accurately. What does the source material highlight for action verbs?
The material wisely emphasizes the power of simple, direct action verbs, specifically those that demonstrate accountability. Yeah. When the team gave their update about the design project, they used words like completed, asked, and planned to finish.
So why are these specific verbs so professional? What makes them so good?
Because they leave no doubt about the status of the work. Completed states a fact. The work is done. It signals finality and achievement. Asked clearly states that an action or request came from another party, which manages the chain of accountability. And plan to finish or plan to review states future intent clearly, without using, overly complicated conditional language. These are the three pillars of a good update. What did I achieve? What information did I need from others? What will I do next?
Okay, let's use the simple yet powerful professional sentence structure as the source material encourages.
For the past, we use the direct structure. I completed the report. It uses the simple past tense, it's concise, and it is absolutely clear. No long, confusing sentences are necessary at all.
And for the future, the source gives us that simple phrasing using plan to finish or plan to review. So for example, I plan to review the data tomorrow. This shows clear intention without needing an overly complicated future tense structure.
It is highly effective. If you say, I'm going to try to finish the data review if John sends me the file, that's too conditional. It's confusing. Right? But my action item is to review the data tomorrow, followed by, I will ask John for the file now, is so much clearer. The key takeaway from this first section really is, use clear structuring phrases, prioritize clarity over speed, and rely on those simple, strong action verbs to report your past results and future plans with absolute confidence.
That sets us up perfectly for the next step.
Yeah.
The actual delivery of the update. Once we've started the meeting, how do we deliver that news in a way that is professional, easy to follow, and concise? The scenario dialogue gives us a fantastic, compact update that serves as a perfect model. I'll read it slowly so you can hear the structure. This week I worked on the new website report. I finished the first draft yesterday. I will send it for review today.
That structure is a masterclass in professional conciseness. It's brilliant. It's 3 short sentences, each one dedicated to one key piece of information. The professional effectiveness comes from using direct past, simple past, and future tenses, clearly defining the timeline. Worked on the ongoing action in the past week. Then finished, a completed action yesterday, and will send the planned certain action for today.
I think the biggest benefit here for the learner is that the brevity, the shortness, is actually what makes it professional. They don't need complicated sentence connectors or anything like that.
Exactly. There is zero filler. This structure is perfect for weekly updates or quick check-ins because it respects everyone's time. If you can communicate your status in 3 clear sentences, you signal efficiency and competence.
After delivering that great update, the next logical step is to invite feedback. The source material tells us that we must be polite, and it gives us the perfect phrase. Please let me know if you have any feedback.
This is a textbook example of professional politeness, and it really highlights a major cultural norm in English-speaking workplaces. We use soft, inviting language when we ask for input. The source contrasts this with a less formal approach, and this is key. Adding the word please and using the phrase let me know if you have maintains a highly professional and respectful tone.
I wonder about the nuance here, though. If I just say, send feedback, that sounds like a command.
It does.
If I say, any feedback is welcome, it sounds a bit passive. Why is, please let me know if you have the superior choice?
Because it places the control with the listener. Please let me know if you have is not a demand, it's an invitation. It acknowledges that their time is valuable and that sharing feedback is, a favor they're doing for you. It shows professional humility.
Humility, okay.
Using please shows respect, and if you have, acknowledges they might be too busy or have no input, which is perfectly acceptable.
That small phrase demonstrates full respect for the listener's time and opinion. It elevates the exchange beyond simply, ticking a box. Now, what about the inevitable moment when things go wrong? We can't always report perfect progress. The source says the strategy here is to be honest, but always calm and crucially proactive.
Yes.
The example phrase they analyze is essential for managing expectations. I faced a small issue with the data file, but I'm working on a fix.
This phrase is a masterstroke in problem management. It's just perfect. First, you acknowledge the difficulty. I faced a small issue. Notice the use of small issue. This minimizes any perceived panic and shows you have the situation under control. But here's the crucial cultural takeaway. The use of the conjunction but.
A shift from problem to solution.
Exactly. But immediately shifts the listener's attention away from the problem and toward the solution. This is the deepest insight. In professional English culture, you should almost never present a problem without presenting an attempted solution or a plan to find one.
So saying I faced a problem and I stopped is just unacceptable.
Precisely. The phrase, I'm working on a fix, shows that you are already engaged in problem solving. You are not just the messenger of bad news. You are the solution seeker. You are taking ownership.
How might a learner introduce that same concept with slightly different phrasing if they wanted to vary their vocabulary?
They could say something like, I hit a roadblock, but I've already researched 2 possible workarounds. Or if they need input, we have a challenge with the data integrity, but I need quick input on which method to pursue. The key is always to frame the problem as solvable and yourself as active in solving it.
This leads directly to the core key takeaway sentence from the source material, which is, I think, a mandate for confidence. Never say, I can't do it. Better to say, I'm working on it.
That is the foundation of professional resilience. It really is. If you say, I can't do it, that sounds like defeat. It sounds like an end to the effort. If you say, I'm working on it, even if the problem is significant, you are showing persistence, teamwork, and confidence. You are still in the game, actively moving toward a resolution.
That's a massive psychological shift communicated through very simple language. And it's so vital for managing expectations while, showcasing your commitment to the team. So we have started the meeting, we've given our update, and handled a potential issue proactively. Now we move into the actual dynamic dialogue, the messy middle of the meeting where we ask questions, clarify details, and wrap things up. This is where the meeting flow can sometimes feel choppy or, awkward.
It can, definitely.
If the discussion is moving quickly and I, as the listener, need to jump in with a question, what are the best ways to interrupt or introduce my query politely?
You need a polite interrupter. The source material gives us 2 excellent, reliable ways. The first is very direct. I have a question about the report. It signals your intent immediately and clearly.
Efficient. You don't waste time, but you announce your intrusion.
The second option is slightly softer. It places a greater emphasis on politeness. Can I ask something, please?
I appreciate that second option. It again shows the power of adding please. Even in a professional setting where questions are expected, using please maintains that respectful professional tone we are trying to establish. It's kind of permission-seeking.
Exactly.
Which is crucial when you feel like you are interrupting a native speaker.
Exactly. Sometimes, as an English learner, you may hesitate because you feel like you are interrupting, but using these polite phrases gives you the verbal right-of-way to speak while showing respect to the current speaker. You're saying, I respect that you're speaking, but I have a critical point to introduce.
Okay, this is perhaps the most essential skill for non-native speakers. What if the native speaker is speaking too fast, or they use jargon we haven't covered yet, and you simply do not understand their point? Pretending you understood is always the worst path.
Oh, you must never pretend. The polite way to address not understanding something is always to use a soft opening, like, sorry, followed by the specific request. The source gives 2 great options that are professional and respectful. Sorry, could you explain that again? Or I'm not sure I understand. Could you give an example?
That opening phrase, I'm not sure I understand, is brilliant. It's so good because it places the focus on your processing challenge, not on the speaker's lack of clarity. It doesn't accuse them of speaking poorly or too fast. It's a gracious way to admit confusion.
And requesting an example is a fantastic tool. It really is. Because examples are always easier to process and remember than abstract ideas or definitions. If you hear a confusing business acronym, asking for it in context often resolves the confusion immediately.
I noticed the reliance on could you in both sentences. This is subtle, but so powerful for softening the request. Why not just say, explain that again?
Well, could you is the softest and most respectful way to ask someone to do something. Explain that again. It sounds like a command.
A bit demanding.
Yes, even a bit demanding. The modal verb could transforms the sentence into a polite request, ensuring the tone remains collaborative and respectful. The change in tone alone is worth the extra word.
Now we need the tools to control the pacing and make the meeting flow smoothly, avoiding those awkward silences or crosstalk moments. The source material provides a brilliant list of phrases that every professional needs to have ready.
These phrases are truly the oil that keeps the professional machine running smoothly. They are simple, conversational, and signal clear intentions to everyone listening.
Let's review them. We have the opener, let's get started, which begins the discussion, then the transition, let's move on, which tells everyone we are finished with topic A and ready for topic B.
And then the vital participation phrases that show you are listening actively and professionally. It's a good point. I agree. And I see your point.
I want to challenge the usefulness of I see your point. For a learner, doesn't that phrase sound a little non-committal? When is it safe to use that, and when should I risk a stronger phrase like I agree?
That is a critical question for professional nuance. It really is. I agree should be used when you wholeheartedly support the idea and want to move forward with it. I see your point is used when you understand someone's argument perfectly, even if you are not yet committed to implementing it.
Yeah.
Or if you plan to introduce a counterpoint later. It acknowledges validity respectfully. It is the perfect phrase to keep a conversation moving when you need a moment to process or formulate a partial disagreement.
Perfect. It maintains momentum without forcing commitment, like that. Finally, we need the language to conclude things. We have, let's wrap up. Can you clearly define wrap up and explain why it is preferred over saying let's finish?
Wrap up simply means to finish or conclude. It is preferred because it's a common, friendly idiom. It sounds natural, so when you hear let's wrap up the meeting, it means let's finish the meeting. It implies bringing the diverse threads of the discussion together neatly, kind of like wrapping a gift. It is a highly common business idiom for concluding something.
And before we wrap up, we always finalize the action items. What does that concept fully encompass, and what is the best way to use it?
Action items means tasks, or more specifically, things we need to do after the meeting. They are the specific, measurable next steps assigned to named individuals with clear deadlines. They are the accountability mechanism of the meeting.
You're right.
The usage is simple. My action item is to update the report by Thursday. It makes the responsibility and the deadline perfectly clear, and it's often documented in the meeting minutes. Without action items, the meeting was just a chat.
I know that rushing into an answer when you aren't ready can lead to mistakes or lack of clarity. Sometimes, especially when asked a difficult question, you just need a few seconds to gather your thoughts or check a piece of information. What are the safe, professional phrases to buy time?
The source offers two great professional pauses that signal competence rather than confusion. You can simply say, let me think for a moment, or if data is involved, that's a good question, let me check.
That's good.
This is a huge confidence booster. I want to highlight again that pausing is absolutely fine and professional. These phrases give you time to breathe, organize your thoughts, or verify data. It shows respect for the accuracy of your answer. It is infinitely better to say, let me check, than to give the wrong answer immediately and create confusion for the whole team.
We want our listeners to feel confident contributing their own ideas and opinions. How does this source suggest making a gentle, non-aggressive suggestion?
You use softeners to introduce the idea. Instead of stating a firm directive, start gently with phrases like, I have a small idea, or maybe we could try.
The word small here is fascinating. Saying I have a small idea makes the suggestion sound friendly and manageable rather than sounding like you're demanding a complete overhaul of the project. It lowers the risk of rejection.
Absolutely. The perception of risk is much lower. And maybe we could try is just an invitation to explore a possibility, opening the door for collaborative refinement. It shows you are open to discussion, not imposing your will.
And what about giving opinions more directly, but still politely, especially if you feel strongly about a course of action?
You must use clear signaling phrases that frame the statement as subjective opinion, not objective fact. The source suggests, I think, in my opinion, and from my point of view. These phrases clarify that what follows is your perspective, giving space for others to hold a different view.
That makes sense.
For instance, in my opinion, we need more time for testing. This is a strong statement, but the opening phrase, in my opinion, frames it correctly for professional discussion. It prevents the discussion from becoming personal or confrontational.
That helps create space for disagreement without conflict. But speaking of disagreement, what if you only agree partially, not 100%, but you acknowledge the validity of their core statement?
This requires subtlety, and the language for it is perfect. You can say the concise phrase, I partly agree. The word partly is key here, meaning some of what you said is true, but not all of it.
How might we make that more detailed? Are there alternative partial agreement phrases?
Yes. If you want to show you respect their logic while introducing your counterpoint, you can use, I agree in principle, but we need to consider the budget constraints. Or the balancing phrase. That's true, however, we also need to consider the timeline.
That sounds incredibly professional. You validate their statement first, that's true, or I agree in principle, and then you introduce your counterpoint using the transition but or however. This professional balance is essential in complex negotiations.
Balance is key in all professional settings. You want to show you are listening and understanding their input while still introducing your perspective calmly and clearly, framing it as a necessary consideration rather than an outright rejection.
Now we shift gears completely. We move from the structured, longer, formal weekly meeting to the quick daily check-in, often called the daily stand-up. This is a very different environment, focused entirely on speed and clarity.
Very different, yes.
So how does the source material define a daily stand-up? And what are its key components? Why is it so short?
A stand-up is defined as a short meeting, typically time-boxed to 15 minutes total, meaning only 1 or 2 minutes per person. The structure is borrowed from agile project management, and its purpose is strictly to share updates and quickly highlight potential roadblocks. There's absolutely no room for long discussion or problem solving.
And this meeting structure revolves entirely around 3 very specific questions that every participant must answer. They have to be answered in order, making the structure predictable. I will read them slowly and clearly now. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? Any blockers or problems?
These 3 questions simplify workplace communication immensely. Your only job is to answer them quickly, clearly, and honestly. The time saved by keeping the meeting short is the primary professional benefit.
Let's practice with the perfect, short, and easy answer structure provided in the source material. It's concise and uses minimal words. Yesterday, I finished checking the sales report. Today, I will start writing the summary. I have no blockers.
That is the model of clarity and professionalism in a stand-up. Notice the simple use of past tense for yesterday and the simple future tense will start for today. The final sentence, I have no blockers, is incredibly efficient. It tells the team immediately that you are clear to proceed and require no intervention.
If the listener finds using will start too simple, what is the alternative phrasing the source material recommends?
The source material notes you can use the continuous present tense, which sounds very natural and active. I'm working on, for example. I'm working on the new presentation today. This means you are currently busy doing the activity, emphasizing that you are actively engaged right now.
The third question specifically asks about blockers or problems. What if we do have a problem or a blocker? What are the best phrases for requesting support while maintaining professional clarity?
You must be direct. Remember the but rule from before. In a stand-up, you don't have time for the but statement, so you must clearly identify the need. You could say, I need help with X, or I'm waiting for Y, for example. I need help with the report format. I can't figure out the new template. Or if you are stuck waiting for input from another person or department, you might say, I'm blocked. I'm waiting for the client approval before I can continue. This clarifies the situation so the manager can step in and help unblock you, often outside of the stand-up meeting itself.
So the stand-up is about diagnosis, not treatment. We state the problem clearly, ask for support, and then the manager deals with the solution later.
Precisely. It is a status report and a clear request for intervention, nothing more.
This happens constantly in fast-paced stand-ups. People speak quickly, especially native speakers, and you might miss a few words, a key deadline, or an assigned task. What are the polite verbal clarification phrases we can use?
It is completely normal to miss words, and you should never, ever worry about asking for clarification. You are demonstrating commitment to the project by ensuring accuracy. You can use phrases like, "Sorry, what was that?" Or, "Could you repeat the last part?"
I see.
Using sorry maintains politeness, acting as a soft verbal tap on the shoulder. If you missed a deadline or a key piece of data, it's far better to use, "Could you repeat the last part?" than to walk away with incorrect information. Communication is more important than achieving verbal perfection.
I often hear learners apologize profusely. "I'm so sorry, my English is bad. Could you please repeat that entire thing?" How does that compare to the simple, "Sorry, what was that?"
The simple phrase is much better. Over-apologizing draws unnecessary attention to the language gap.
Hmm.
The simple, "Sorry, what was that?" assumes the distraction was simply noise or a momentary lapse, which is acceptable in any meeting. It focuses on the information needed, not the skill deficit.
After the stand-up, we often need to write a quick note in the team chat or a project management tool. In these tools, we don't have time for full sentences or even punctuation. How should we structure these rapid written updates?
The rule of thumb here is simple. Short, clear messages save time. The source provides a fantastic structure using noun phrases or headlines for updating written status. These are universally professional and efficient. Completed draft report. In progress data review. Next, finalize slides.
These are essentially headlines for your work status. They are short, clear, and perfectly convey whether a task is done, being worked on, or coming up next. They respect the digital communication environment.
Absolutely. The professional standard in these asynchronous tools prioritizes brevity. You are respecting everyone's time by getting straight to the point using powerful status indicators like completed and in progress.
What if we need to contact a coworker quickly via chat, maybe for an urgent file or a fast question? How do we ask for help in a way that is polite rather than demanding?
You need to ask permission to interrupt their current flow of work. The source gives us excellent polite chat requests. You can say, "Hi, no, do you have a minute?" This is the gold standard for initiating contact. It respects their schedule.
And if you need a specific task done?
You can ask, "Can you please help me with this file?"
The source contrasts this with less formal phrases like just writing "you free" and emphasizes the importance of adding "please" at work. Why is that single word so crucial in digital requests?
Because digital communication often loses tone. Writing "you free" can sound abrupt. Adding "please" restores the politeness and shows that you value their time and assistance. Politeness is always appreciated in the workplace, even when your fingers are flying across the keyboard. "Can you please help me with this?" Sounds collaborative and respectful.
And once they help us, how do we say thanks nicely and professionally?
There are a few ways. You could say, "Thanks so much for your help," or stepping up the appreciation, "I really appreciate it."
Let's define appreciate clearly for our listeners because it's a slightly more formal word than thank you.
Yes, appreciate means that you are very thankful for their specific effort or help. Saying, "I really appreciate your help," is a very polite and natural way to express high levels of gratitude in a professional setting. It suggests you recognize the effort they made. It is a powerful word that professional communicators use frequently.
We are now moving into the language that truly makes you sound like an integrated native professional, decoding common business jargon and mastering the etiquette of less formal interactions.
The good stuff.
Native speakers use shorthand that can be confusing and exclusionary if you don't know the meaning. The source decodes 3 excellent pieces of common business jargon for us. The first is quick sync.
Quick sync means a short meeting to catch up. The word sync is short for synchronize, which means to share updates and ensure that everyone has the same information. If your boss suggests a quick sync, they just want a fast, informal chat, often less than 15 minutes, to make sure you are aligned on priorities. It emphasizes efficiency.
That makes perfect sense. It's a very modern, business efficiency-driven term. The next one is a lovely expression that speaks to collaboration. On the same page.
This is a foundational phrase you will hear constantly. On the same page means everyone understands the same thing. If the team is on the same page, it means there is no confusion about the goals, the strategy, or the next steps. It means alignment, which prevents wasted effort down the line. It's often used as a check. Just checking, are we still on the same page regarding the deadline?
And finally, we have 2 similar phrases used to signal the end of your own update, especially in an informal setting. From my side or on my end.
Both of these phrases mean for me or for my part. Saying that's all from my side means that's everything I have to contribute regarding my specific work.
The source notes that this is typical business English style. It is a slightly formal but very common way to conclude your segment, signaling that the floor is now open for the next person or the next topic. In longer meetings or when giving complex information, summarizing is essential for clarity. One of the best, simplest ways to start a professional summary.
Keep it simple and clear. You can use to summarize, or here's a quick summary. Either one signals explicitly to the listener that you are about to review the main points. This manages their attention and prepares them for the core takeaways.
And the structure for that short summary is very simple. List the main points clearly. The source gives a perfect example of a three-part chronological structure. First, we finish a draft. Second, we need feedback. Finally, we'll send it by Friday.
This central chronological listing is incredibly effective, especially for English learners, because it relies on simple sequence words. First, second, finally. It requires minimal cognitive effort from the listener to understand the key steps. It reinforces that golden rule: simple, clear, and polite.
After you finish speaking, especially in an online meeting, you need a professional way to ask the next person to speak. How do we pass the baton smoothly and politely?
You need explicit handover phrases. You can say, "Now I'll hand it over to Name," or this slightly softer question-based phrase, "Name, would you like to share your update?"
Handing it over is a great phrase that suggests responsibility is being smoothly transferred.
It's very professional and essential for maintaining flow, particularly in virtual meetings, where it can be awkward to figure out who speaks next. You are proactively giving the floor to the next person, ensuring no one talks over anyone else.
Technical difficulties are a constant reality of modern work. As the learner, you need to know the standard professional phrases we use when someone has an audio problem.
It happens to everyone. First, the most common phrase you will hear: "Sorry, I think you're on mute." This is always said politely because the person on mute usually doesn't realize it. You can also say, "I think we lost your audio."
And there's a specific idiomatic phrase we use when the internet connection is poor, which is, "You're breaking up."
Correct. "You're breaking up" means that your sound is cutting out, distorted, or intermittent because of a bad internet connection. It is important to know this phrase so you can quickly signal the technical problem, allowing a speaker to, turn off their camera or move closer to their router to improve the connection.
If you must join a call late, which sometimes happens due to back-to-back meetings, how do you handle the entrance politely without disrupting the flow?
Be brief, polite, and respectful of the time of the people who are on time. You say, "Sorry I'm late, I had another meeting." This is simple, honest, and professional. Do not elaborate. Just quickly listen in and join the topic without asking for a summary.
And when we leave the call, how do we sign off professionally?
Always say goodbye politely and friendly, maintaining your professional relationship. "Thanks, everyone. Bye," or the slightly warmer, "Have a great day." Always end with a positive and friendly sign-off, making sure your presence ends on a good note.
Finally, let's look at the casual English that happens outside the meeting room, specifically inviting a colleague to lunch. This is where the politeness shifts slightly toward friendliness.
It does.
The source gives us a great casual phrase used frequently by native speakers. Do you want to grab lunch together?
Grab lunch is key here. It means to quickly get lunch or eat together. The use of grab makes the invitation sound casual, spontaneous, and non-committal. It implies a quick, easy interaction, which is perfect for a spontaneous lunch invitation with a coworker. It's far friendlier than asking, "Would you like to formally eat the midday meal with me?"
And if you are genuinely busy, how do you politely refuse the invitation without damaging the professional relationship?
You must always express gratitude and offer a potential alternative. You can say, "Thanks, but I have work to finish, maybe tomorrow." This is polite because you express gratitude, thanks. You give a brief, professional reason for the refusal, and most importantly, you offer an alternative time, maybe tomorrow. That last part signals that the rejection is about the timing, not the person, keeping the door open for future social interaction.
We have covered so much ground today, moving from the most formal meeting structures to the fastest chat requests and even lunch invitations. That was a truly deep dive into workplace English. If we recap the core principles we learned today, it constantly brings us back to what you highlighted: simple, clear, and polite communication. We learned that slowing down our speech is key to maximizing clarity, and that using small, soft words like please, sorry, and could you elevates our professional tone instantly, making us sound more confident, not less.
Absolutely. And remember the advice about listening to yourself. Self-correction, like practicing the correct pronunciation of think versus tink, is a smart way to ensure your clarity improves over time. And I want to leave you with this final message of encouragement. Every meeting you attend, every message you write is good practice. Confidence comes from using the simple words you know correctly and clearly, not from trying to use complex or unfamiliar vocabulary. Simple, clear language is always the most professional.
That is fantastic and actionable advice. Thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into professional workplace English. And thank you, our listener, for joining us on this journey into the source material from the English Uncut channel. We spent all this time mastering phrases for managing meetings and chat, but let's take a moment to consider the bigger picture. How might these same polite and clear principles apply when you are negotiating salary or asking for a promotion situations with high stakes? Think about how using partial agreement phrases like I partly agree with the current salary structure, or assertive phrases like I need help with achieving the next career milestone could change the tone and outcome of those more difficult, crucial career conversations. The principles of simplicity, clarity, and politeness apply everywhere. That's something powerful for you to practice and explore on your own this week. Until next time,